Good evening. It's Jules Wyman here from juleswyman.com, who suddenly realised that her phone was still on, very loud actually, so if it had rung, it probably would have scared the living poop out of me, quite frankly. That could have been quite interesting, watching me jump as the phone went off. So it is, and things have already started pinging, so bear with me. I am running slightly late this evening than I anticipated. So therefore, I've still got pages open that do not need to be open. For those of you that are joining me live right now, I'm just going to get some links ready that I want to share with you later. So do drop down and say hi already. Because it'll be fantastic to see who's here already. Good evening, Tiffany. You're on it. You're on it. You're there. You're there already. Nikki, thank you very much for your thumbs up. It's nice to have you here. How are you doing, my lovely? It's been quite a long time since we caught up. What would that have been? March of last year when we were in Spain? I think it must have been about March, April of last year. Chris, good evening, my lovely. How are you? I know that you've sent me a message. I've not yet had the opportunity to have a look at it. I just need to move some things. I've got my dining room table in the space, the space surrounding me at this moment in time. My T-shirt says one thing, which is golden state of mind. That is possibly an instruction outwardly rather than inwardly at this moment in time. Because if the outside world echoes what's going on in the inside, then there is paperwork all over the place at the moment, which is not how I usually work. But I've got a load of things that if you're on my newsletter, she says, picking up a pen and wagging it. If you're on my newsletter, which you can get on by going to my website, which is, I should put it on here, but for any of you who have watched this, you will know that I just cannot talk and type at the same time. So there's no point in trying to do it properly. I will just waffle. Yeah, you can go, if you go onto my website, I can't even put that up there, then on there, on the right-hand side, depending on what device you look at it, you can access the 7 keys of confidence for free. And when you give your email and your name for that, then there's a button that you can click to also get the regular, well, they are regular, they're twice a month. I don't bombard. I've been told that really I should do, but I get quite annoyed when I get lots of emails coming in my inbox. So it's not something that I enjoy, and so it's not something that I do. Bad business practice or not. Anyway, this week's blog and newsletter, this will make sense if you look at it about because I talk about putting things off. And so I'm trying to tactic with myself. There's a particular thing that involves a lot of admin and paperwork that I've put off. It's not my favorite thing, is paperwork or admin or detail spreadsheets, not my thing. So my tactic yesterday was, if I start it and get it all out, then because I don't like mess, it's going to encourage me to do a little bit every night, which is what my aim is after I come off here. It's just an hour. I only need to do an hour, just do the next bit. Anyway, it's making me chuckle. I've also got a fly keeping me company this evening. So if you see me suddenly start doing that, then that's what's going on. I haven't lost the plot. Now, there's quite a few of you that are joining live already this evening, which is fabulous. So do drop down like Tiffany and Chris has done, and Nikki's given some thumbs up. So if you, it'd be fabulous if you, I've got something in my eye, it's not the fly. It'd be fabulous to be able to give you a shout out, or just go crazy with the old emojis and let me know that you're there as well. If you're watching this on recording, you can still do the same thing. Still drop on and say hi. Whilst obviously I can't give you a live shout out, I will, I get a message that comes through to say notification, like you do with anything on social media. And I do always come back and I interact with those people who are watching it on the, what do they tend to put? Hashtag replay. I'm so down with the kids. But that's what they tend to put hashtag replay. So, the emoji mad is happening right now. I'm not quite sure who it is, and it really was the whole spectrum of emojis. I best have some tea before I crack on. If you are joining this for the very first time, be it live or be it the recording, it's so fantastic to have you here, and thank you very much for joining. The whole purpose of these videos are it's my way of giving back. When I first discovered personal development, and it literally saved my life and turned my life around, subsequently became how I earn my living, which is not something I set out to do. I say that my business started me as opposed to me starting my business. So because I didn't have any money, I went on so many webinars. Hey, Shelley. I went on so many webinars, even getting up at like 2 o'clock in the morning to go on webinars that were happening on the other side of the world. There wasn't, obviously, because I'm talking 16 or so years ago now, 15, 16 years ago. And so there wasn't any of this sort of stuff, and there was a lot less video, but video was just grainily starting to come out. But I devoured whatever I could for free, and as my business has grown, and I just love what I do, and in my ideal world, you would all recognize the value of investing in yourself and the exponential benefits of doing that, and whether it would be with me or whether it would be with another form of development in some way, shape or form, you would do that. But I can't force people to do that because that's a dictatorship, and I'm not into those. But I can offer resources for free, such as on Facebook Live. These get transferred over to YouTube. There's my blog. There's loads of videos. There's loads of resources. There's the 7 Keys of Confidence I just mentioned on my website. This is my way of giving back, and even if it just inspires one person or plants a seed, then to me that's what it's here for. That's the purpose of it. So my encouragement is for you to join in as much as you can, whether that be the emojis when you're going, yeah, I get that, I understand that, that's really resonating with me, or if you're like, yeah, whoa, totally loving this, Jules. If it's like, no, I don't get that, don't agree with it, then somebody's trying them already, thank you very much. But if it's something that you don't agree with, as I say every week, this isn't about me wanting you to agree with what I'm saying. It's not the purpose of it at all. In fact, I hope that some of the things that I say potentially will challenge your thinking and may lead to more questions than answers. And in my book, that's a good thing. That can be really helpful. So and let me know, rather than just go or cry face or whatever it may be. Let me know so that we can have a conversation. This is the whole point, that this is a conversation. I bring a starting topic, but with your comments, I never know where things may lead or what may spark out of it. And we had fabulous interaction last week, which led to some wonderful things going off on tangents, which I hadn't planned and wouldn't have brought to the table if it hadn't have been for the wonderful conversations that were put in the text. I was going to say from the ladies, but I can't remember whether Superfan Rob was on last week. I haven't seen you pop up yet, but you could be lurking. No, you don't do lurking in the background, Rob. If you are there, I'm sure you'll join at some point if you can. So the other thing that you can do is, obviously, when you've watched these videos, if they really resonate with you, or you think, oh, do you know what Auntie Sheila could do with seeing this, or I wish my sister had watched this, or God, I wish my husband had listened to this, or it doesn't matter who, share the video with them, either in a personal message or share it to your own wall for all of your friends and family to see. But the whole point, as I say, is being able to help as many people as possible recognize that there are different ways of being. Whew. I don't think there's any more. Oh, and interact in the same way as well. If you're watching on the recording, as well as saying hi, then also interact in the same way with the emojis and the comments, because, as I say, I get notifications, and as soon as I possibly can, because obviously I may be with a client or delivering a training or a talk, I can't always do it immediately, but I will get back as soon as possible. So I entitled this, I was a bit sneaky with my titled of the message that went out about me faking confidence. And I suppose in some senses it's not a lie, because that is exactly how I started out. I've got a very itchy nose again, I do apologise. When I first started out, I definitely, it was my modus operandi. I didn't know any other way of being, actually. To me, it was all about fakery. It was all about pretending I'm a speaker, I'm a trainer, I'm a coach, I can do this thing, and I'd have little crib sheets hidden away so people couldn't see, or I'd definitely put on that smile and fake it in some senses. And I know that for myself, by the end of even an hour's coaching session, or whether it was a full day training, I think I can honestly say by the end of it, pretty much every time, I was exhausted, because it takes up a lot of energy when you are faking something in more ways than one. I'll let you fill in the blanks with that one and where my brain went. But it does take a lot of energy. If you're pretending, if you're acting, then your energy is going into, it's not necessarily counterintuitive, but it's going against and sometimes in conflict with what's happening internally. Now, before I go into really talking about, just bear with me one second, because, okay. I can see what's going on now. I could hear something beeping in the background and I couldn't work out what it was, but now I know. Before I go on to talking about genuine confidence and what my perception is of that, I am going to say some things which some people sometimes assume mean that I'm saying that faking confidence or acting as if you have confidence, the whole fake it till you make it thing, that I'm dissing it. I'm saying it's a really bad thing. I wouldn't say it's a really bad thing. I would say initially, if you need to use it in situations, it's a great start out tool. It's a great way of helping yourself through some situations. But there are other situations. I don't want somebody behind the driver's seat in any vehicle, be it plane, bus, ship, car, anything, faking it and pretending that they can drive or fly that craft or boat, because that's really dangerous. But I think the majority of the situations that we're talking about of, maybe it is going on a date, or maybe it is having a difficult conversation at work, or maybe it is going for that job interview or applying for that job, or I think what we have to be very mindful of is the difference between faking and acting in a specific way versus lying and exaggerating. So say, for example, if we put it in the context of, let's say it's an application or an interview, to go into, to have applied for a job or sent your CV through, and you'll have seen this on comedy programs where it's quite often an actor actually that's put down that they can tap dance or ride a horse or speak fluent Spanish or whatever it is. And of course they get the job because of that. And then they're like, oh, what do I do? And go into a whole panic around it, and all comedy ensues with that. So that's lying. That's not faking it in a way that's helpful. And that is going to put you into some sticky situations. So be mindful that when I'm talking about faking it, there's some specific things that what I'm really talking about. The main things for me are around utilizing your body to help you experience different chemicals going around your body that can help you experience and access confidence. So, for example, if you are sitting outside waiting to go into an interview, and you are tapping your fingers, and you have got your head in your hand, and you're constantly clock watching, and you're really worried about, you know, you're constantly going over in your head, you know, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna say? Do you go to the bathroom now? Do you not? You're hunched over. If you imagine yourself in that situation, give me, there's no thumbs down. You see, the good old days of I nearly said LinkedIn then. Facebook was either thumbs up and thumbs down, wasn't it really? But they removed the thumbs down, interestingly, which was, yeah, you don't have the subtle thumbs down anymore. It's an angry face. So just imagine, and if you feel like typing it in, that would be fantastic. Imagine if you're going in for a job interview, and this is how you are sitting, and you know, you're tapping your fingers, and you know, every 2 seconds checking your phone, and you may be getting a bit fidgety, but your head's down. Imagine how you would start to, what would your experience be? What sort of sensations might you experience in your body? And I did this in a training last week, the Leading with Belief 2-day training, and we were doing it stood up in relation to, I can't remember how it came up in conversation actually. And all of them, I said, just stand as if you are really nervous before something. And that was the only instruction I gave, and everyone took on similar movements. So pretty much everyone, their legs were close together, or feet were crossed over, their heads were down, they were closed in, or they were tight, their arms were folded. Some of them were rocking backwards and forwards, some of them were fidgeting with their hands. They mentioned about their breath being shorter, their eyes were down, one lady was furtively looking around the room. So they knew that by taking on these postures, that this would have an impact on their experience, on therefore then what their body starts to experience. And I'm pretty sure that if you've been playing along with what I've been suggesting over the last few minutes, that if you've done that, you'll notice that you'll start to experience it as well. So I know because I said to you, as I said earlier, I was running a bit late, and I know that my body was going into, yeah, and I'm a bit tired, and because I could see all the paperwork everywhere, my thinking was going into, and I've got to do that afterwards, and I could feel myself doing that, and I was like, and right, so come on. So I walked around my dining room table a few times and pretended to have a little sing, because I didn't put the music on, had a little sing, have a little dance, and my energy lifted up. And that's the kind of fakery that you can do. That when we're talking about acting or faking as if you've got confidence, that's what you can do, is you can start to confuse your brain and your body by you taking control of it, rather than it taking control of you and you being on autopilot. So you can help yourself. So, you know, if you are going into that interview, then make sure that you're sat outside, either stood or sat, feet on the floor. Ladies, no wider than hip width apart, but have them flat on the floor, so it gives you the opportunity to feel grounded. Have your hands, if possible, on face down on your knees to help you with that as well, and to keep them still, and just focusing on your breathing, taking in your surroundings, potentially, you know, smiling at the odd person here or there, or just taking in your surroundings and breathing, and taking charge of that breath and noticing what happens. Now, you may not necessarily go from feeling nervous to feeling uber confident, as it quite often gets referred to, or super confident. But if nothing else, you might go from that state of nervousness to feeling calmer, or to feeling more resilient or able or capable or anything like that. Does this make sense? Let me know if this makes sense. The other thing that a lot of people do, as well as utilizing their body in that way, and personally, that's always my first port of call. If I'm not feeling great, and I don't mean from a health perspective and sickness perspective, I mean, but if I'm aware that I've let my thinking take over and I've gone into mood, there's a number of thumbs going up there, so I'm assuming it's making sense. Lots of other emojis as well, but who knows? That's my first port of call. My first port of call is always 3 deep breaths. That's always my first port of call. But I will sit myself up. I will check my shoulders. I will make sure I'm looking up. And even to the point of I will be sat at my desk, and I'll make sure that I'll be sat in the office, and I'll be typing with as straight a back as possible. Or I will go and have a walk around the office to get myself focused so that I can continue. Because it's important to be able to do that. It's important to take control of your body. But the second part with that is that, and this is where I know I can go into dodgy ground sometimes, in the sense of I don't necessarily agree with a lot of the conversations around affirmations and I've got this, I will rock, I'm the best, and all of that sort of thing. Because whilst it can hype us up, it's a little bit like going to a rock concert, isn't it? And or any kind of music concert. Well, possibly not a piano concerto, but you know, if you're giving it large like this, then of course you're going to get that adrenaline going around your body. But it's about recognizing, is that going to be helpful? And I do think that sometimes some of the affirmations of I am amazing, I am brilliant, I've got this, I'm the best, any of those kinds of things may not be helpful, because there's the other part of our brain in the background that, whilst we're saying that consciously, that's sat at the back going, hey, yeah, right, don't believe that twaddle. And that's the bit that gets control, or has control for the majority of us, the majority of the time. So we need to be mindful that then that causes a conflict. So for me, if you're going to use affirmations, make them appropriate. So, for example, I know one of the ones that gets bandied around a lot is, I love myself. Look in the mirror and say, I love myself. Well, was certainly for me a huge step to be able to say that. I couldn't even say like myself, let alone stand in front of a mirror and say, I love myself. But what I could say, sorry, I've got a bit of bean shell stuck on my tooth. And what I could say was, I could look in the mirror and say, I am learning to love myself. And that was far more truthful, because I am learning to love myself, or I'm learning to be loving to myself. That was a far more truthful statement. And I can go, yeah, I am learning to do this. And that helped me make a connection. So I'm learning to experience confidence. I'm learning to tap into my natural confidence. I'm learning to be a confident person is a far more truthful statement than I'm confident and I've got this, when there's that voice that goes, yeah, right, wait till we get in there and then I've got control again. Does that make sense? Let me know, people. I recognize I am talking at 100 miles an hour again, as ever, because there's always so much to talk about. And I always, for me, this is scratching the surface. But as I say so frequently, I have to have a swig of this, I do apologize, is that there's lots of those emojis. I'm assuming that the sad face and the angry face is just because you're slipping your hand, whoever that is, that's doing those emojis. I talk at 100 miles an hour and I scratch the surface with this is because I don't know, those of you that are watching, and there's anything from, we've got 5 people live on at the moment. We've had nearly 10 earlier. So there's people dipping in and out. I know that people come back and watch this, and anywhere between 150 and I think the highest video has had about 1,500 people view it. So I don't know where you're at in your lives and what's going on. So for me, I'm keeping it very generic so that hopefully most people can access it from some way, shape or form. By doing that and by keeping it big picture, I have a challenge to stop myself, because I want to dive down a little bit more, which is not helpful. And I need to just trust myself with the information, and that it will give you something from that top level, if that makes sense. So for those of you who might be watching this and are like, woman, slow down, that is only tea in my cup, it's nothing else. I haven't drunk anything else this evening. This is just because I'm looking at the clock and going, my gosh, is that really 23 minutes already? How did that happen? Okay, so, and the reason, by the way, that I try to keep it to 30 minutes is because I know what people's attention span is like. I know that people have busy lives and that they want to go off and do other things. So that is why my aim is always to keep it, it's not a successful aim sometimes, but that's why my aim is to keep it roughly to 30 minutes. So with that all being said, just wasted a minute. So the challenge, so faking confidence, acting as if you have confidence, using your body, speaking in affirmations that are truthful, is a way to help you make steps and progress into accessing even more confidence, even more frequently. Make sense? Put a yes, come on, talk to me, people. Oh, some of you are talking to me and I hadn't even noticed. I do apologize, Tiffany and Shelley. I'm learning to love myself is a good statement to repeat. I like it. I love it. Couldn't resist that, sorry, Tiffany. Perfect sense. I can relate. Oh, I can't see what it says now. Go away. I can relate to so much of what you're saying. Brilliant. Thank you, Shelley. Apologies, I hadn't seen those pop up. So, so there is nothing wrong with faking it unless you continue to do it. Because I am not, personally, my own personal experience is the fake it till you make it did not work for me. What happened was I was faking it and faking it and faking it and faking it with confidence, nothing else, don't get smutty. And I was doing this over and over and over again. And I realized that I could go into bigger training rooms, or I could have conversations with senior people all of a sudden. And I was doing that more and more. But what was happening, me then coming away from those situations, whilst I may have been faking the confidence, and I don't know if I genuinely did feel confident, if I'm truthful, in those moments. When I stepped away from them, I would then go into the, did I say the right thing? And all that self-doubt would kick in, the imposter syndrome would kick in. So it was massive loads of self-questioning. Should I have said that? Should I have not said that? And that's where I started to realize that something, this faking to make it was actually keeping me trapped in some senses. And I wanted to understand what genuine confidence was and how to really access it. Now, for those of you who've watched even some of my videos, yeah, it didn't work for you either, Shelley. I'm sorry to hear that. But I do think that, unfortunately, that's far more truthful. But what I did notice, and as I say, if you've watched any of my videos before, then there's a high chance you have heard me say this before, but I cannot emphasize this enough, because people don't seem to really get the magnitude and the profundity, if that is the right word, of this statement of where confidence, where the word itself derives from. It comes from two Latin words, con and fidere, which means with trust. So if you're looking at self-confidence, what you're looking at, if you're wanting to experience genuine confidence, what you're wanting to experience is genuine self-trust. Genuine self-confidence is genuine self-trust. And trust isn't about getting it right. Trust is about having a go and walking away from those meetings, those interviews, those dates, those pitches, those difficult conversations, and going, okay, so what worked? What didn't work? What have I learned from that so that I could do it differently next time? How can I apply that? And the more that we do that, the more that we can then help ourselves in that process, we're going to have a sense of development, a sense of process, a sense of how to help ourselves. Now, I got so ridiculously over the top excited about the word trust, that's why I named my very first online coaching program the Trust System. The TRUST does stand for each one of the modules and what it does. But it was something for me that I just wanted to bang it home for people. And what I'm starting to notice in conversations with people at the moment is that I don't think it's just people in the UK, because I've had conversations with people in the States and Australia in the last few weeks, that there is this undercurrent of uncertainty. We are living in a very shifting time as human beings. It's possibly, I was going to say it's possibly one of the most uncertain times we've ever lived through. It is in my 46 years of being on this planet. My granddad's been around for 101. You know, he experienced some pretty uncertain times in different guises. So my comparison is not the same as his, but it seems like there are a lot of things that are shifting and a lot of things that are being challenged and have the potential to change. And I think what goes on for a lot of people is that when we're in that space of uncertainty, we lose our sense of certainty, and therefore we lose our sense of trust. You know, where do I put my foot? Because that ground that was solid beforehand seems to be moving, and I'm not used to that, and I don't know, you know, I've had my world rattled over the last few months because I've started researching things, and I had a view that was straight down there, and all of a sudden my view is like, okay, I can see there and then there and there and there, and I'm not really sure which one of those I want to follow that is the correct one for me, etc. And that's challenging space to be in if you haven't worked on your trust, if you haven't worked on your self-confidence. That doesn't mean to say that you can control these external situations, no matter how local or how global they are, because we can't. But what we can do is then take a consistent, what's the word I'm looking for? We can be in a more consistent space for ourselves. Now, that doesn't mean that we will always experience confidence every single second of every single day, because that is hogwash as well. So we need to be very mindful of this, but this is about you learning how you can build trust for yourself, so that even when things do go awry, you've got yourself to fall back on. And that doesn't mean, as again, I want to reiterate, that doesn't mean that you are getting it right all the time. It doesn't mean that you are correct. It doesn't mean that you are the font of all knowledge, but it does mean that you are giving yourself the space to learn, to recognize what's going on for you, to be kind and considerate to yourself, and have that learning to love yourself, have that I'm learning. I was on this same course last week, this Leading with Belief course that I did live for 2 days last week. That's my other online program. But one of my clients asked me to deliver it live for their clients. And there was a gentleman there, and when we were going through, you know, what's your main takeaway? What are you really going to focus on? And he said, do you know, the biggest thing that's really hit home for me is to recognize that just because I'm uncomfortable in a situation doesn't mean to say that I need to run from it. It doesn't mean to say that I can't find a way through it, or that I can't let myself be in it and be wrong and learn from it. And he referred to him being in the autumn of his career. You know, he'd been working in this particular industry for 40 years. So he's like, he's just getting that now. And it was amazing to watch those light bulbs go. Am I making sense? Because this is all pinging on for me as I'm describing it for you. It's about recognizing that space. So when you're in that place of uncertainty, discomfort, even to a certain degree fear, although I would challenge that, because I don't believe that most of the fear that we think we experience is something that we haven't got control on in some way, shape or form, but that's a different conversation. There's a whole heap of emojis going on there, so I'm assuming that it means it's making sense. See, Shelley, however, once I discovered, oh, I missed that first bit. The fake it till you make it didn't work. However, once I discovered trusting myself, then I found a natural confidence. It made life experiences a breath of fresh air, and even challenging situations were easier to handle. I should have just stopped talking and let Shelley's comments say it all. Thank you, Shelley, because that's my experience. It's not that I suddenly got a magic wand and find it right. It's just that when things go belly upward, when things are a way that, how do I deal with this? I don't really know. It's that space of going, I don't know, but I trust myself to find an answer, or I trust myself to put my hand up and go and speak to the right person, or ask for help from the person who's going to be able to give me a different perspective, or whatever it may be. Trust is so important, she says, looking as if she's doing some kind of hypnosis to the screen, but really she's not. She's just lost the plot. I shouldn't stop talking to myself in third person. So I'm going to just speak for another couple of minutes. I would love to know what your main takeaway is from tonight's confidence conversation, because I want to let you know that having had this conversation last week, you can thank the 12 delegates from the Leading with Belief program last week. Had such an amazing time with them, and they were so, you know, these are the kind of people, most of them were introverts. These are the type of people who love spreadsheets, love their numbers and data and information, and that's the kind of environment that they work in. So to be in a room where they were being encouraged to speak out and share their own experiences and be a bit vulnerable, they were amazing. They were absolutely amazing. And we were talking a lot about trust, and one of them said something about you need to do a program on trust, or about confidence and trust. And I said, well, it's funny you should mention that. I already do have a program. And I said, and do you know what? She says, waving her finger again, that because they had asked, because they had made the inquiry about it, I decided that the program is about, gosh, it must be about 4 or 5 years old now. And it usually sells for £197 for the whole program, lifetime access. There's videos, audios, workbooks, all sorts there. 30-day money back, 100% money back guarantee, no questions asked, all of that. I was driving back from Doncaster thinking about it and thought, you know what? Next week, I'm going to take £100 off that. And that's the price, it's now £97. And you, wonderful people watching this live right now, all 5 of you at this moment, are the first people to know that. So if that's something that floats your boat, I'm not the kind of salesperson or business person that is going to ram it down your throat. It's there. If you know that this is something for you, then it's there. Go buy it. Go take the action. If you're somebody who needs more information on it, then click on the link that I've put below and go and watch the little video. Not right now. Watch the little video and read all of the other blurb and information that's there. There's testimonials on there, etc., etc. And if it's not for you, then that's okay too. That's absolutely okay too. But I wanted to make sure that I shared that with you this evening, because I do know that there are a loyal bunch of you that show up every Monday night, and also those who I know watch it watch/listen to it every Tuesday morning as well. So you guys are the first people to know. You have the exclusivity of that bit of information. So the link's there. Go use it. Share it. Share it. Christmas is coming up. I know it's a bit early. I can't even believe I said that. I can't stand Christmas. Anyway, Tiffany's put, my takeaway is trust is to give it a go, not necessarily to get it right. Take away the not necessarily. It's not to get it right. It is literally to have a go. That's what it's about. It is about having a go. The more you can have a go and then not beat yourself up about the outcome, not give yourself a hard time regardless of what the outcome is just to have a go and then see what you can learn from that, and keep moving forward, because that's how you're going to develop and stretch and grow. So as yourself, Tiffany and Shelley are the only ones who have shared those things. You're the only ones I can thank in that sense. But I know that there are some of you hovering in the background. I hope that this has given you some food for thought this evening around how you can use the fake it till you make it, recognizing the restrictions I personally experienced, Shelley experienced as well. Hiya, Jenny. Jenny's put, I'm a bit of a self-doubter, afterwards a faker of confidence. I'm going to try and trust myself more, tell myself it's okay to not always get it right and not beat myself up so much. Jenny, have you watched/listened to the 7 Keys of Confidence, which is totally free? It's on my website, which is the other link in the comments that you can wade through, because that talks about the importance and the value of self-kindness when you're doing this work. If beating yourself up and self-criticism worked, and you're not the only one who does it, by the way, but if it genuinely worked for any of us, we'd only ever have to do it once, wouldn't we? We'd beat ourselves up, or we'd self-criticize or chastise or whatever. We'd do it the once, and then we'd save the money, lose the weight, tidy the house, get the accounts done, whatever it is, we'd do it, rather than this relentless stuff. So that stuff doesn't work. Self-kindness does. I can certainly guarantee you that you will get a much better return on your investment with kindness than you will with criticism. In fact, there's an article in there that I need to write. So I think that's everything. I can't see any other comments. One of the things, Jenny, I'm not going to go into it now just because of the time, but if the trust system is something that does appeal to you, in your comments, and again, if you're somebody who's watched any of my stuff before, then you'll know that picking up on language and the value of language is something that I think is very important. And there's a lot within what you've stated in that little paragraph there that we could look at or could be looked at to help you. And in fact, in both of the online courses, it gets spoken about. So if it's something that appeals to you, then that's right. And if not, then that's fine too. So for those of you who've made it all the way to the end on the live, you might need a damp down with a wet flannel or something. I certainly do now. I know I need to finish my tea and then crack on with this paperwork. If you have any other questions that you've watched this through, whether it be live or on the recording, and you think I really want to ask but I don't want to put it in the comments, then message me direct. We can always have a conversation. You never know, our conversation may spark some information around a topic that I could use on here as a starter. I don't have to mention your name, can be completely confidential, but you never know. It might be something that gives you an opportunity for us to dive deeper, and can pretty much guarantee that somebody else will go, oh, I'm so pleased that you've covered this topic. So if you're thinking, I don't know if I want to comment on this, then direct message me and we can see where we can go from there. I didn't realize it was the first time you've watched, Jenny. How wonderful. First time you've watched and you've commented. You get the brownie points today, although there's been lots of comments and wonderful emojis been flying around all over the place. So thank you very much. I've overrun again. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your focus, your thoughts, your comments, and I look forward to catching up with you next Monday on the 4th of the second series of the Confidence Conversation. Take care of yourself, and in a world where you can be anything, be kind. Take care. Bye now.